So just a little bit about myself. I did engineering from NSIT in computer science, and I graduated from there in 2021. Post that, I joined Make My Trip as a software engineer, and I worked there nearly for 2 years. And after that, I decided to switch things up a little bit. So I switched a job to a startup. It was a European startup where I had much more accountability and responsibility. There, I joined as a software engineer and was soon promoted to a senior software engineer. And after nearly working for 2 years, there I am. And first, I gave CAT last year and also GMAT last year, and I scored a 735 in GMAT, which translates to 100 percentile, and a 99.5 percentile in CAT. And I applied to ISB along with it, and uh, I applied in R1 and got admitted, and I'm looking forward to join it in this year. So I was in a I was fortunate enough to work in exciting roles in both the companies. My role comprised of very diverse tech stack, and I worked on very different kind of projects. But it always excited me, the decision making process that goes behind building the products, and I wanted to explore on that further. And I, after talking to some seniors and looking at the senior people in my organization, I found that MBA will be a good path to lead to that. So I decided to do an MBA and be more involved in the product development side. To follow, first you have to, for the flagship PGP program, you should have a GMAT or a GRE score handy. I found that GMAT exam more to my liking because I was better at quant. So I decided to take GMAT, but ISB says that they don't differentiate between GMAT and GRE, so either exam is fine. So, and after giving GMAT, I applied in R1, which deadline was, I think, 15 September. And after applying, I received an interview call around 1.5 months later. It was a bit late this year because they were switching up the dashboard. And generally, the interview calls start around 2 or 3 weeks after the application deadline. So I received the call at around October end, near Diwali time, and had my interview on 9th November. And almost all the interviews were happening simultaneously in all cities, Delhi, Mumbai, and Hyderabad. And I received the official admit at on around, I think, 26th November. And yeah, first they in admission, also in offer letters, they roll out in batches. First they rolled out to the people who got an admit without a scholarship, and then they rolled out to people with scholarship. And yeah, my batch will start from 12 April. So it's good to apply early so that you have sufficient time to plan things and give a sufficient notice period in your organization. So for ISB application, they demand a score, and next part is essay, which is a pretty important part for ISB application. So if you're a new applicant, you do two essays are mandatory, and one is optional, but everyone ends up writing it. So there are three total essays, and apart from that, you have to get a recommendation letter, either from your current manager or your past manager. Although a recommendation from your current manager would be a bit more helpful, but they say that they don't much differentiate. It just depends on whom you have worked with the longest and who knows you the best. So next part is getting a recommendation letter. After submitting the application along with the GMAT score, essays, and recommendation letter, then we get the interview call. And in the interview process, they added a component this year, which was analytical writing, you can say, in which we were given 20 minutes and we had to write two essays on case study, 10 minutes dedicated to each essay. It was sort of like a business problem. For example, if your team is comprising of different type of ethnic background people, how will you manage it to make sure inclusivity, etc. And it can be a case study, ethical dilemma, anything. And after these two essays, you are called in for an interview, which lasts for around 30 to 45 minutes, and that is the last step of the application process. So in essays, it's very important to be honest and truthful to your own journey. They are mostly pointed at reflecting your own journey, your own strengths and weaknesses. So it's important to be honest because they will go down deeper in the interview, and it's important that you have retrospected yourself pretty thoroughly and are honest about it. And it's also important to get it reviewed by someone professional. It can be either an ISB alum or a senior, or any professional senior, so that they can help you through the process of what to highlight and what to not, and how to present them in a useful manner, because everyone has a journey, but it's very important on how you present it. So it's very important to get professional help, either from a family member or an ISB alum, whomever you prefer. And yeah, if you're honest about it, there's not much to really be scared, because ISB admission interview is very relaxed and very friendly. They are very friendly. They just ask deep about your profile, and if you are honest about it, you have nothing to fear. When I was very scared about the process, because I heard that they can be grilling at the interview, but uh, ISB interviews are very professional and very friendly, so there's really nothing to worry about. Yes, in resume, it's a strict guideline of like they don't specifically mention it, but it's generally considered to comprise everything in a one page. And so it's really important to highlight what you want to portray in a B school application. It's not a job interview, so you have to be really careful what you are highlighting in your resume, and you have to be crisp and precise, so that like if you overload it with too much information, it can get confusing. You have to think from a perspective of human, that a human will read it within a few seconds, and they should immediately look at what are your highlights in your journey and ask questions based on that. So prepare your resume in with that mindset that a human will read it and ask questions on that in the interview.